Here he is, the legend. Here's the man, Dion DiMucci. Dion, how are you?
I'm really well. Delighted to be here, Chaz. We have the same story.
We have, yes, we do. It's very strange because people always kind of put us together. What I mean, our stories together, because you're from the neighborhood, I'm from the neighborhood, and we're like really from a few blocks away, which is really strange, you know. But I want to just ask you, let's go back. Let's really, really go back. You were this kid. Obviously, you're older than I am. So you grew up in our area. Where exactly did you grow up, Dion?
I grew up well, right in the neighborhood, out there. The neighborhood, what I call the neighborhood, Chaz, is Bronx Zoo is the borderline in my neighborhood on the east side with botanical gardens. On the north side would be Fordham University, where I was born right on the grounds of Fordham University. I would say on the south side, it was St. Martin Tools. It was like maybe 100 and I don't know, 82nd Street. And then on the west side, you could take the concourse, which was the Champs-Élysées in the Bronx, where the Yankee Stadium is, or maybe up to 3rd Avenue, I would say, Arthur Avenue, 3rd Avenue. That was like my little neighborhood. I grew up basically on Crotona Avenue and 183rd Street.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, we're like really right near each other. I'm on 187. Now, Dion, were the Belmonts together, or how did that group start?
Chaz, when I was a kid, I heard these black singers, on this, I don't know, on my little transistor coming out of Wheeling, West Virginia, and Newark, the Don Larkin show, which was like a country show. So I would hear Hank Williams, or I would hear Jimmy Reed, or I don't, Lightning Hopkins, John Lee Hooker. So, it's kind of black music filtered through an Italian neighborhood who came out with an attitude. But when I was like about 12 years old, I remember I heard Jimmy Rod sang a song. He said, "You're the one who really gives me a buzz. You're the one who really gives me a buzz. I didn't think I could last much longer, but it shows you just how wrong I was." So I just thought it was the most fantastic thing I ever heard. I ran out of my house up to the corner and I told the guys, I said, I heard a guy Ron was with Buzz. And they didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And I met this, I'm trying to give you some backstory on how I put the Belmonts, Dion and the Belmonts together. So this black janitor, this superintendent of one of the buildings on Crotona Avenue, he brought me down to Laurie Records. I think this guy came through his alcoholism, came through his drug addiction. He used to play with Louis Armstrong. And I fell in love with the guy. I used to run out of school just to be with him, after 3 o'clock to hear him do some John Lee Hooker songs. I just loved the guy, and we became fast friends. And he was trying to help me. And he brought me down to. He encouraged me to go down to Laurie Records, and I went down there and I got signed, and I did a record called "The Chosen Few," which was so out of my ballpark, because they wanted me to do it, and I wanted to do anything just to make a record, And but when I said, if you want me to sing with some guys, I'll go back to my neighborhood and I'll recruit some of the best singers I know in my neighborhood. I went back to my neighborhood, and Carlo Mastrangelo, I met him at Tally's pool room. He wrote a song and he used to sing it while we were playing pool, and I was enthralled by it. Called "We Went Away." And then there was a guy named Freddie Milano down on Mapes Avenue who would sleep on the jukebox singing harmonies. He was real good with harmonies. And Angelo DeLeo was kind of taking opera lessons. And he had a beautiful voice, perfect pitch. And he just was enthralling when he would sing. He would do like Nessun Dorma, like Jeannie's aria. And so I get these three guys together. Chazz, when we got into my apartment and we started singing, because there was no examples. Well, there was a few. There was a few. We had the Cadillacs, which I love.
Right.
The way they moved, and
right.
Got the rhythm thing. So we started den 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 den, and Carlo was like doing this rivet gun sound. Freddie was doing like
right,
and Angelo was, and I was singing lead, and it was like a carousel in heaven going on. I never experienced anything like that in my life. And it was like a special golden moment.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of Dion and the Belmonts. So we went down there. We didn't have a name. I had a contract, but we tried to pick a name. All the bugs were, like the crickets, and all the bugs were taken, all the cars, the Eldorados. We said, what should we call ourselves? Gun Hill Road, Fordham Road, and we ended up with the Belmonts because Carlo and Freddie lived on Freddie and Angelo lived on Belmont Avenue.
Right. So the Chosen Few was the first one in '57, right?
Yeah, it was an existing track that Hugo Montenegro, this great arranger, arranged for a guy named Joe Allegro, but the times were changing, and Doo-wop was coming in, and groups were coming in. So they put me on the record, and they brought me down to the Dick Clark show when it was local, and the kids went crazy. They really gone, but I didn't particularly. It was way out of my backyard, so that's why I wanted to recruit some of the guys in my neighborhood. I said, if you want to do,
who wrote I Wonder Why, Dion? Who wrote I Wonder Why?
A whole bunch of people, but we really arranged it. I don't remember. It was like we had the song. I never met the people who really wrote it, like the work.
Right.
But we kind of put it together, we never got credit for any of these productions that we put together.
Yeah, nobody ever did back then. It's terrible. Yeah.
But, we just winged it,
and that song just exploded. Did that go to number one?
In the neighborhood, in New York, it did, and
yeah.
I heard Vito Picone on your show, talking about bragging rights, and certainly that was like, that's what we wanted.
Bragging rights, right.
Hey, notice I could do this, and it was big because Chazz, back then, when a friend of mine who had a convertible drove down Crotona Avenue, and they were playing I Wonder Why, it was like number one, and it was coming up. We didn't have air conditioners in the neighborhood at that time.
Right.
Windows were open. Everybody had the same radio station on it. It would just be pouring out of the windows, out of the bar rooms.
Wow, yeah.
Bars. It was like surround sound.
Now, Dion, did you have a Thunderbird, a '57 Thunderbird?
I did. Oh, Chazz, did I love that car?
I remember I was a kid and I saw you go by, and my mother and father said that's because we were close with your Annabella. Remember Annabella?
Yeah,
and her mother.
Yeah, she lives down here now in Lakeland. doing
Oh,
really well.
please, yeah, tell them I said I. And they lived right across from me, across the street. And wow, yeah, that just brings back memories, man. Holy shit. So now you would so okay, so I Wonder Why was a big hit, obviously. And what was your and is this a true story? You guys couldn't dance, I heard. So what you guys did was you just stood there and you snapped your fingers and you made it like cool to snap your fingers. Is that true?
We tried moving on I Wonder Why. We put a couple of dance steps together for Dick Clark, but we weren't dancers, you know. I remember I told this story when I got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's true. I did a show with the Isley Brothers at the Apollo Theater, and man, they killed. You know, they in their finale, man, they used to spin around and they would do shout. You know, you make me want to
Right.
pay, and they would spin
Yeah.
and do splits. So I ran up to my dressing room. I wanted to do a split, and I spun around and I did a split. And one thing a short, squatty Italian guy shouldn't do is no, because I haven't been the same.
Wow. So after I Wonder Why, everything was like really obviously blowing up for you guys. And what was the second hit of Dion and the Belmonts?
Teenager in Love.
Teenager in Love.
That was
Wow.
big. That was huge. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that was a huge hit. I remember. I
What,
I think that one number one, didn't it, Dion?
yeah. You know, the Belmonts, when they sang, ooh, wow, they laid a blanket down for me to just glide on, you know, just to float on. So that's the way I felt when they sang. They were like so good. It humbled
They
me.
were. They were. I mean, look, we should give them a shout out. The original one, the bass was Carlo. Carlo, could you say his full name, Carlo?
Angelo, Freddie Milano, Angelo DeLeo. Man, they were like the bomb. Let me tell
Yeah.
you, they were all so talented. Carlo was unbelievably gifted. He was a jazz musician, man. He could play drums with Sonny Rollins. When we were in Chicago, he wanted to sit in with Sonny Rollins. When he sat in, they said, how do you do that?" And he said, I hear the arrangement coming at me before it comes. He was like a savant. And,
Wow, that's amazing.
and Freddie was really gifted with harmonies, way to place harmonies. And Angelo just had the most gorgeous voice you ever want to hear. So
Wow.
I just love listening.
Wow.
So to get
So then Teenager in Love hits. And what was your next hit after that?
Where or When, which I must say, Chaz, that was way out of my backyard, my wheelhouse, you know.
Oh,
Uh,
but you did a great job on that.
it was Alan Sussel was the president of Glory Records, and it was his favorite song, and I did it for him. And we worked with it. We worked on it really hard to get the harmonies, you know, because it was a little different. It had some diminished chords and some augmented chords, which I wasn't used to because, you know, I mean, I was in the blues. I was into Hank Williams, you know,
Right, right.
but it stretched me a little, you know.
Yeah, yeah, no, it did. I mean,
Bob
you
Dylan,
sang standards, man. It was see that's the thing about you, Dion. You sang country, you sang rock, you sang hillbilly, you sang blues.
they're all
Out of all those styles, what was your favorite? You think?
well, they're all connected, Chaz. If you take country music and you take blues, see, country music is in a major setting, blues is in a minor setting. It's the same three, four chords.
Right.
And if you just mix them, you get rock and roll. You know, so it was to me it was very connected. But I would think at the very base of my sensibilities are the blues. You know, Ruby Baby, Drip Drop. The Wanderer. They're all blues songs. I even think Runaround Sue is a cleverly disguised blues song, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, if you think about that, yeah, I could hear that. Wow.
But, Chaz, here, you'd appreciate this. Like, uh, most of the blues guys used to sing on the offbeat, like, down of the girl and a ruby is a name.
Right.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. But we started singing on the downbeat. I'm the nothing guy that
Right.
so we started this kind of white blues thing, this attitude, kind of. And Springsteen uses it on Badlands.
Yeah, well, as I said in my introduction of you, that you're really I could be wrong, but you're really the first guy that I could ever remember that brought that brought an attitude into the music. It was like this. It was like people do a New York accent sometimes, but it's very hard to do a New York accent if you're not from New York because it's more than an accent. It's an attitude. It's the way you say the words. Because as an actor, I see actors who try to do a New York accent, and they could do it well, but they just can't get the attitude. And that makes the difference. And the way you do it, it was just, it's one of those God-given things, it's phenomenal, it's just phenomenal.
You know why? Because I mean, you're a great actor, so you know what I'm talking about. The best singers inhabit the character of the song. They,
Right.
they inhabit. You just, they are the character that's singing. A lot of people think you're always singing about yourself, but you're not. There are characters in these songs. For me, uh, and you know what I'm talking about here because we lived a block away from each other. The wise guys who were hanging out on Blowing Avenue or Arthur Avenue or
Right.
they they kind of had this attitude. So I, I these characters they were enthralling to me. And when I heard Muddy Waters sing, "I'm a man" or "I'm the hoochie coochie man,"
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I'm the hoochie coochie man. You know I am. I'm the best thing on the planet, baby. That kind of thing. It was so over the top that
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I love singing those songs because it's satire. It's satire. And I every time I do an album, Chaz, like I wrote King of the New York Streets.
Oh, one of my favorite. I love that song.
I'm the gangster of love. I got
Right.
the cure. Don't you want a man like me? All these songs are like so over the top, but there's so much fun to sing. And I got that from the guys in the neighborhood, that attitude, that street thing comes in.
Wow. Yeah. Now, it's strange, but you were with the Belmonts not too long. Maybe, I think, less than 2 years, I think, right?
I'm going to just pause here for a second because you mentioned, so I got to say it. You were saying that to do a New York accent, like you have to be from that part. That's why Sinatra is so great.
Yeah.
About inhabiting a song, he had that attitude, that Jersey, New York, that, I mean, it's comparable. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I agree. Did you get a chance to meet Sinatra, Dion?
I never met him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, never met him. But he was great.
Oh, yeah. Now, did you know Bobby Darin?
Very well. Hung out with him a lot. Yeah, we did our first tour together. It was an it was an 8-week tour with Joanne Campbell, who he was in love with. He was I loved hanging out with Darin. He was just a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, he's very talented guy. Very talented.
Yeah, He even taught me how to pay taxes because I didn't know anything about taxes. My father never had a real job. My mother made $40 a week. What did I know about taxes? They never made enough money to pay taxes.
Right. Yeah. Now, Dion, I know everybody knows the story, but could you just run it back quickly and give us a what happened on the night, the day the music died, as they say? You were supposed to be on that plane. Is that correct?
Well, you can say that. I was good friends with Buddy Holly, and we went out on a tour in 1958 for about 4 weeks together. And then he called me, and we went out on this winter dance party tour, which crisscrossed the Midwest in early 1959. And we had this little yellow school bus, that we didn't have a Golden Eagle Willie's Nelson custom made bus. So the bands, the heater kept breaking, and we get stuck between towns, 30 miles from each town with 30 below zero, and a lot of the guys were freaking out. They thought they were going to die. Well, Buddy Holly, after 2 weeks of crisscrossing the Midwest, in fact, Bob Dylan showed up in Duluth. He wasn't Bob Dylan at the time, but he tells the story of seeing the show. Uh, Buddy Holly got tired of, the bus breaking down. He decided to charter a plane when we got to Clear Lake, Iowa, and he asked Carol Anderson, who was running the Surf Ballroom, where he could charter a plane. He took him to a friend of his, Jerry Dwyer, who owned Dwyer Airfield, and he chartered this Beechcraft Bonanza. It was like one engine, and it sat four people. So he comes to us, the Big Bopper, who was on the tour, Richie Valens, myself, and him, and he was trying to recruit two of us to bring down the cost.
Right.
These guys, the three of you can't come, he says, because he was 22 years old. He was older than us, man. He was taking flying lessons out of Teterboro Airport. I was learning how to hail a cab. But he charters this plane, and we're in the dressing room, and we flip a coin. I win the coin toss, and then he tells me it's $36 to fly from Clear Lake to Moorhead, Minnesota. I said, buddy, I'm not doing this. I'm not spending a whole month's rent, because my parents were always arguing about the $36 a month rent.
Yeah.
And I just refused to go on it. And I gave my ticket I gave my seat to Richie. And I said, hey,
Wow.
I'll find the instruments. Richie, take a coat. It's going to be cold, yada, yada, yada. And they took off that night, Chazz, and 5 minutes into the flight, Roger Peterson flew the plane right into the ground because it became blinding blizzard. See, I guess he thought he could. There's a thing they call scud running. When you fly in a storm, you fly real low, and you could see the farmhouses and the car lights and the house lights and
Right.
and the lampposts, and but it was so blinding he couldn't see anything, and vertigo. He just
Sure.
wasn't flying
Yeah.
at level. He just flew it like right into the ground 5 minutes after it took off.
Wow.
And the next day, it took about 3.5 hours, 4 hours. I don't know. We drove all night on the bus. And the next day, when we arrived in, I think it was Fargo, because Fargo and Moorhead are like 5 minutes apart from each other, right over the bridge. Uh, it was like I walked into the hotel and they were watching this little black and white TV in the lobby, the locals, and it was screaming out that three of rock stars died in a plane crash. And Chazz, I didn't even know how to process it. It just put me in a tailspin. I got on the bus, just alone, I was sitting there looking at their outfits, like Richie's blue vest,
Yeah.
Buddy Holly's, his suit, and the Big Bop, his hat, and I was minding their guitars, and
Wow.
I was like, what the hell's going on? And I was 19 years old, Chaz, and I think what happens is you say to yourself, who am I? What is all this about? Where am I going?
Yeah, sure.
What's going on? You know, what's it all about? It just puzzles me. And I think when I came home, the girl that I was dating, her name was Susan, she said I was in like I was out of it for 2 weeks. I was just
Really?
sitting on my bed singing Donna and a lot of Buddy Holly songs and the Bopper songs. I was in uh, I don't know.
Yeah. Bill, Dion, do you think, and it's hard, it's a hypothetical question, but out of those three people, who do you think would have had the biggest, longest lasting career, you think?
Well, they were all so talented, Chaz, but Buddy Holly was a businessman. He had a publishing company. He was opening a record company. He
Wow.
could have been a force, definitely. But Richie was the kindest. He had a voice like an angel. The Big Bopper was like, he was just a fun-loving, carefree guy that you'd want to be around. You
Yeah.
shoot darts with him and drink a glass of beer with him in a bar room. It was just the guy was
Wow.
a lovely man. Just a lot of fun. And he
Now,
was he was a great.
after you and the Belmonts broke up, because you only were together, that I think, about 2 years, and then you went off on your own. And what was your first hit on your own?
Uh, Runaround Sue.
Runaround Sue. Wow. Now, was that named after your wife? Because your wife is not a runaround. You've been married for 90 years.
Oh, it's a funny story. You know the feast, right? The feast was right out your window, right? Where you live.
Yeah.
So, you lived right in the middle of the feast, San Gennaro's. But, she moved down from Vermont, and she was, I thought she was the most beautiful thing I ever saw. So I started talking to her. And in the neighborhood, when you get dibs on her, like I talk to her first, she's my girl.
You
So
get dibs.
guys kind of respect that,
I haven't heard that. Jesus.
So at the feast, she was from Vermont. What does she know? She doesn't know, that she was thrown back into the mid ages, Middle Ages in Arthur Avenue. So she's talking to somebody, and the guys all get around me and they go, "Hey, your girl's talking to that guy. He's pretty good looking." So I'm like looking over there, and she's, at the ice stand, she's talking to this guy. And, and I didn't know how to process it. So, when she came over, I said, "I thought we were together." She said, "We are together." I said, "What were you talking to him about?" "Why were you talking to him?" She said, "I was giving him directions to Bronx Zoo." I said, like in my world, you don't talk to him. You know, So I wrote Runaround Sue. I never released it. But then later on, she said to me, "That's a great song. You got to release that song." And I released it.
Wow. Now, how did you end up working with the Del Satins, Dion?
Well, the Belmonts and I got into, there was a lot of tension because
Right.
we wanted to go, Freddie Milano especially, wanted to be like the Four Aces and those smooth groups, the Letterman and, all that
Sure, yeah.
harmony. And I said, "Guys, I can't do this. That's a music I can't do. I don't like, no, we have to do it. Nah, I'll see you later. So we split. They wanted to do everything like Whirlwind, and I just did. I love the song, uh, uh, but it wasn't going to be everything I wanted to do. I wanted to, like I said, my sensibilities lie in the blues, black music. So we split. You
Yeah.
know,
Now the Dell Sounds, and a terrific group. Do you remember? I think I have their name. Do you remember their names, Dion, of the Dell Satins?
you want to know? So let me finish answering that question. I didn't
Yeah,
get to
I think I
this.
have it.
So, but when the Belmonts and I split, I was walking up. I think it was like the 92nd Street on the west side of Manhattan. One night they were on the corner singing. Franziska, Leslie and Freddie. I knew, and Bobby. I don't remember a lot of their last names, but they were so good. I said, guys, would you like to record with me? And they went, yeah, because I just had split with the Belmonts. So I brought them up to the studio. Chaz, this is funny. I said, you guys have to sing this. Hip, hip, bum, day, 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 hip, hip, bum, day, day, day. And they went, what? They didn't know what the hell I was doing. So,
Right.
but we had a ball. We had a good time. We made some good records. They sang Ruby Baby with me. They did the
Yeah.
with me.
Here
Uh,
they are. The Dell Satins were Stan Zitka, Fred Ferreira,
right.
Tommy Ferreira, Les Couch.
Les
Yeah,
Couchy.
yeah, yeah. There's some good guys there, man.
Oh man. A lot of them are gone, Chaz.
A lot of them are gone. Yeah.
Shout out to Stan Ziska because he's the best. He's
Yeah. Yes, yeah, he's still around. In fact, I think I met him, if
he's
I'm not
work.
mistaken.
He works it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Dion, so you probably had, oh my God, Ruby Baby, Runaround Sue. Oh my God, you had a massive a bunch of hits with them.
Well, I made a lot of friends with the musicians who were on all those records. They were musicians from the Apollo Theater Band. Like Buddy Lucas played the solo on
Right.
Big Buddy Lucas played solo on The Wanderer. Runaround Sue. God, we had Panama Francis and Styx Evans and Milt Tilton. We had some great jazz musicians who were playing very simple stuff, but they would encourage me. They loved what I was doing, and they really helped me out, Chaz.
Yeah. Now, Dion, obviously, uh, and we're both. I mean, I'm not a born again. I think you're a born again. Are you a born again Christian or are you just a Catholic?
Well, I'm Catholic, but I'm sure born again.
Yes, you're born again. Yeah, I'm a Catholic, but we do share a strong belief in God. When did that really make an impression on you? The whole thing about God. I know you had a bout with drugs, as all the guys in the neighborhood did. Uh, but were you at your lowest point when you decided to turn your life over to Jesus?
Chaz, I was taking drugs through the mid 60s. I just didn't know how to handle my emotions. The plane went down. I lost three friends. I didn't know how to process the whole thing. Uh, I started using drugs, running the streets with Frankie Lyman and
Yeah.
Cadillacs. And we were using heroin and through the mid 60s. And it started to get real bad, Chaz. And in in 1960, I got married in 1963. So 5 years from that, all through the first 5 years of my marriage, it's like it's like there's three stages. The first stage of drug addiction is fun. The second stage is fun and some problems. The third stage is about problems. And in 1968, it was nothing but problems.
Wow.
And Frankie Lyman died February of 1968 and scared the hell out of me. I got on my knees. I said a prayer, and Chazz, you won't believe this. God, somebody told me you have to reach out. A sick mind can't cure a sick mind. You have to find a power greater than yourself. It was this guy who was in AA. He told me about trying to find a power greater than yourself who would cure the problem for you. I said, okay, I didn't know God on the wall. So I got on my knees. I said a prayer. I haven't had a drug or a drink since April 1st, 1968.
Wow.
I was working this spiritual 12-step recovery program for about 11 years. And I went out jogging one day, very frustrated because I felt something was missing. And I cried out to God. I said, God, I had 3 young daughters who never saw me drink or drug. Within that 11 years, I had 3 young daughters, Tane, Lark, and August. And I was a little frustrated. And I went out and I was jogging for about 4 miles. I used to do this loop when I was 38 years old. I'm jogging. And I said, God, it would be nice to be closer to you. And Jesus appeared to me on the street. It was like so sudden and brilliant and profound. And like, I can't even explain what happened. It was like a white light went off in the pit of my chest and it came out of every pore of my being. And this beautiful, ethereal figure standing in front of me, I can't explain. It wasn't physical, but I knew it was Christ. And I ran right into his body. And all of a sudden, the whole world turned technicolor. I mean, the sky was bluer than it was ever blue, and the grass was,
Wow.
and cars were red. And I ran home and I burst through the door and I said, Susan, Jesus is alive. And she looked at me like I ran too much, like overheated. She said, who doesn't know that? I said, why didn't you tell me? She said, yeah, I didn't believe me. But Chazz, ever since that day, Chazz, I tell you, I haven't been the same. I've been free, the freedom of excellence.
Do you ever get a chance to counsel people who are on drugs who have had a tough time?
Every day.
You do? Oh, that's wonderful.
Every day I work with guys and they help me. They help me. That's what I love, the connectivity and the spontaneity and I just there was a time I was frightened to get close to people, to get that intimate with people. But they helped me so much that I'm giving it away. You know what I'm saying?
Your life, your life is incredible, Dion. You went from the highest to the lowest, back to the highest again. Your mark. You're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Your mark, and I love talking about your music and your songs and your hits. But I really get this feeling that you and me, and I put myself there with the same service, that we're here to serve. We're here to serve people. That they look at you and it's great. You have incredible career and all these hits, and a mega rock and roll star. But I feel like your mission, your real mission, that God would be proud of, is the mission you help other people see the light.
Chazz, I was watching I was yes. The answer is yes. It's wonderfully fulfilling, you know. But I want to tell you why. This month, I watched a documentary on Ernest Hemingway. The guy
Yeah,
was so prolific and just such an imaginative writer, and he gave the world so much, and he ends up blowing his brains out. I can't write anymore. Bang. So then I watched this wonderful documentary on Mark Twain, who started American literature. I mean, you're talking about Tom Sawyer and Huck
right.
Finn. The guy is wealthy. He has three daughters. He builds a beautiful mansion in Hartford, Connecticut. At the end of his life, in the sunset years of his life, he is broken and depressed, and he wants more. So he starts investing. He goes bankrupt. He goes bankrupt, and he, he there's no joy in the rest of it. So he puts on the white suit and he walks around just being Mark Twain, this alter ego thing, where people recognize him, and he tries to do the best he could with that. But there was something terribly missing, terribly empty, discontented. I'm reading this at the same time. I'm reading this autobiography on Paul Newman. He ends up in in his later years. You know what he says at the end of the book? My five daughters' arms grew longer and longer, reaching out for my love. And my arms grew shorter and shorter. I did not know how to receive love or give love. I'm thinking, oh my God, I love this guy. I didn't want this, I'm pulling for him. But there's a big difference in being successful and being fulfilled. Fulfillment and success are two different things. So, you and I understand that idea of there's a higher reality, there's success, and then it kicks it up a notch where you and I are. I'm not bragging about this. Look, I
No, I understand.
can't brag about this. I had nothing to do with it. All I did was ask. I said, God, I want to be closer to you. So it's nothing that I did. It was a gift. And I always say, if I have a gift, there must be a gift giver.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredibly well spoken, man. Success and fulfillment are two different things. You know what? In all my years living on this planet and all my reading of all these books that I've read and all the shrinks that I've seen, and no one ever said it like that. I'm honest. I know no one's ever said those words. There's a difference in being successful and being fulfilled. Wow.
Guys, did you get my new book, The Rock and Roll Philosopher? They sent one to you.
Yes, I did get it. I got you. In fact, please, 'cause I got to do it. Look, we're running out of time here because I got my next people coming, but we have to do another podcast. We have to. I could spend another 2 hours on the phone with you. But tell us about things that you just did so people could pick it up. You have a new book called The Rock and Roll Philosopher. Where could they get it, Dion?
Just go to Dion, The Rock and Roll Philosopher on Amazon. You want to know? The Audible is awesome. It has a lot of songs in it. It's great. And the book
Fantastic.
and the book
Now, are you appearing anymore? Are you? I know you're retired. Are you doing any more concerts?
I'm like off the road with the band, but I do some. I'll send you a video that I did a show at Keating Hall on Fordham University grounds. At the lecture hall, and I just sat on the stage for they asked me to come to tell stories about the neighborhood and sing some songs. I'll send it to you. But I had such a good time. Angela, the poet teacher up there, she asked me to come up, and
Yeah.
I just loved going up there. But being we're coming down to the end, I just wanted to tell you, I had three number one blues albums from 2021. Blues with Friends was number one for like almost a whole year during COVID. And I did it with Springsteen and Paul Simon and Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton and Van Morrison. And, I made some best albums of my life, I think. And I just wanted to tell you, I don't only write songs about satire. So could I recite a song that I wrote when I was a kid when I was in class?
Sure, go ahead.
This song, because we're talking about God, so I was always interested in music. And where's God? What's he?
Praise God, right.
So here you go. Columbus did not discover this land. He did. Oceans didn't make themselves. He did. Skies weren't born deepest blue. Stars didn't simply fall there too. Joy didn't plant itself in you. He did. Mountains didn't just raise by themselves. He did. Rivers didn't find the seashore alone. He did. Time didn't carve a canyon wall. Rain didn't simply want to fall. Who do you think bent down to make it all? He did. Golden sun, silver moon, he gave us these and more. He rolled the world into a ball, placed love at its core. Winds didn't make the desert drifts. He did. No one else grew trees so tall. He did. Who do you think taught birds to fly, then painted rainbows on the sky? Who do you think made you and I?
He did.
He did.
That's great. Did you write Did you write music for it?
Yeah, I eventually I recorded it. Oh, maybe back in late '70s. It's called.
Oh wow. Well, listen, that was beautiful, ladies and gentlemen. The rock and roll philosopher. You just seen it right here. You have to pick up his book on Amazon. You can pick up the audio. Look, Dion DiMucci is a one of a kind. He's a one of a kind. He's going to be back. I'm going to have you on in the next time we shoot, which is going to be about 5 weeks, 6 weeks from now. Got to have you back on, Dion. And I want you to see Billy Joel's documentary, because I know you know Billy. It's
he lives right there.
Incredible. One of the best documentaries I ever seen. I put it in the top 3. And if you get a chance, you saw my one-man show, right? You did see it.
Absolutely. I saw it in LA.
Right. If you want to see it, I just recorded it on 5 cameras. It's on Amazon, it's on pay-per-view, it's on everything if you want to see it live like that.
Cool.
But I will keep in touch. You're going to be back on the show. Dion DiMucci, the rock and roll philosopher. God bless, Dion. Thank you.
God bless, Chazz. Love you, man.
Love you, man. All right.